For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you guys a bit of a sort of a review slash tutorial video about how to pitch a TL wing or a Pro wing on the front of your Zempire. Now, Zempire do kind of, you know, as they're very renowned for these kind of high-end tents that kind of leave no specket to give. You know, it's all about creating the best product possible on the market, and the wing is kind of an extra you can buy that actually zips onto the front of it to make it look smarter. A bit more sort of external canopy. And it means that you can have the door down and still have that sort of, you know, protection in that sort of front awning section. Now, it makes a big difference when you want to have, rather than having the gull wing door up, just makes it a little bit more versatile. Plus, you've got the ability that you can kind of modify the canopy to a certain degree. So, through this video, what I'm going to do is basically kind of show you how it goes up, how you zip it on, and probably the method behind it all, really. Not that you wouldn't expect it, but you get some really nice strong webbing straps with the double ring buckles. All I'm going to do is basically unravel this part. So this is a brand new canopy. You've also got your canopy pole and then the fabric itself. What I'm going to try and locate is basically where the roof section is. Normally you find a zip, so there you go. Now I'm going to kind of try and lay it out in the same kind of method that it's going to zip on. So, you can normally tell what's the upside and what's the underside by the seam. So if you can't see necessarily like a tape seam or an internal stitching, that tends to be the sort of the top side. Storm strap at the front, and we're good to go. So the zip puller tends to be on the canopy itself. So you're going to zip that on. Typically it tends to start on the far side to me here. So what I'm going to do is try and zip that on first. I'll provide a bit more slack. There we go. It can be easier with sort of two people, but you can do it on your own in one. So you can zip that on to make sure it's on there. Start it a little bit. You want to try and just take a bit more fabric there, making that zip a little bit more easier to kind of slide along. Immediately I would say that, you know, like I said, when you've kind of got the second pair of hands, makes a lot big difference. So kind of hold it and then slide the runner. What I'm going to also do is kind of open up the door a little bit, because obviously you've got to struggle to reach at a certain point. So it gives us that little bit of a closer style to it, so you can just kind of keep going. And you've got a little baffle, so you'll make sure that's over the zip once you've kind of put it in. If you want to use it, there's also a Velcro part here, so you can actually use that to your help rather than hindrance. So you can always Velcro that on initially, and that's going to kind of help a little bit with holding it in place. Merely if it was a windy day like today, you haven't got much luck with that. So let's open that door up a little bit more, just to make it easier getting it into the side. What you might find is almost roll the door up sometimes to give yourself a little bit more play. Reaching over is a bit of a struggle. So what I'm going to do is just remove that pegging point, or take it off at least. Suddenly now I can go right underneath it. Pull that across, making sure we're not catching the actual zip in it. And we're there. What you will find is the zip will end up here and almost go to the very end, so it shouldn't be able to go back up that way. Like I said, once you've got that baffle quite nice and open, I can lay that canopy out a bit more. We'll re-put that pegging point back on, actually, to be fair. And zip that back up. So now we're going to cut the canopy open. You'll find that there is kind of, obviously your classic kind of webbing straps there. What I want to do is take that nice and tight down to the bottom initially, just to try and get a really sort of pin back feature. By doing this first, it means that you're sort of in full control. Now, ideally what I want to do is almost come back along this seam and peg myself down right in the corner. So you're almost crossing over from the point where the bottom of the beam is. One thing I would say is you almost want to peg yourself a little bit further back, because you can allow the adjustment out a little bit more if need be. And as you kind of tension it back that way, it will slip a little bit regardless anyway. So we'll do the same on the other side. This also helps to kind of get that kind of wraparound feel. So it's trying to create that sort of crossover point, so you haven't got that wind coming on the underside of the canopy. As you expect, you've got these extra padded reinforced bags. So now we're kind of in this position here, we'll get the pole. So the pole is a constant curvature, all in one piece. Now there is almost like a pentagon kind of shape. You want to make sure that, because it's pre-angled, you want to assemble it in the right way first. What you can find sometimes if you don't do it properly, it twists. So let's get that dead square. The straight bits are on the sides, just the arc bit there is the only bits that you kind of have that kind of pentagon kind of style. I always find it's easier to do it when it's sort of not under tension. Perfect. Here we go. If you find it's hard, you can always lay it on the floor. It takes kind of the resistance out of the actual pole itself and make it a lot easier. So watch yourself, Arch. I'm gonna come around you. So we're going to feed that straight through the sleeve at the front and just kind of feed it as we go. You're almost going to try and wrap it around the tent. Cool. Once in this position here, that pole weight's going to hold it in place. What I'm going to kind of do as a bit more of a caution is get the additional kind of storm straps in place, clip them on and just tension it. That way when I go up with the actual part itself, it's not going to suddenly kick up in the wind. So for doing this, what I'm going to do is detach the storm straps on the front of the tent and replace them with the one on the canopy. So we'll just angle that back a little bit. Away you come. Over you come. Cool. So what we'll traditionally do now is move these pegging points a little bit further out. Steady. Just so when I get the pole up, it's under tension. I'm not going to go too mad. Just want a little bit of space out. I can tension as I go. And you want that sort of peg in sort of like a 45-degree angle. That way it's going to kind of hold it in place a bit more. So come out a little bit, 45 in. Wicked. Now, if you kind of go down the actual pole part itself, probably do it for that outside, a bit easier to see. You've got this kind of webbing strap. Now this is kind of the tension point. So you've got a ring and pin system which goes into the base and also then a guide point. So what I'm going to do is just follow down the ring and pin, enter that into the bottom. And then go around the other side. And do the same. You've got an adjuster at the top, so if you're kind of a bit too tense, you can kind of just slacken up a little bit and just give yourself a little bit more play. And you're better off having the maximum amount of play initially, because what you can then do is obviously make it a bit tighter. It's easier to get it in when it's loose. And so, okay. And you've also got this little strap here, can help you tension it down. If you're finding trouble, what you can also do is try and pull the fabric across a little bit to give you a little bit more closeness to it. So we'll go down. And it slips in. So now we're kind of quite low. What I'm going to do is clip the pole on. So again, you've got a bit more security. It's still quite low, so we're not catching it in the wind. Immediately it's spread out a little bit further than it would be normally, but like I said, we're completely in control of it at the moment. As you might be able to tell today, it's quite a windy day. So what I'm now going to do is kind of angle this pole upwards, but also tension the webbing straps at the same time. So by kind of bringing it forward and in, I can just tension that a little bit. That way it's just going to hold in place for the time being. Okay, now we've got that up, I'm going to basically connect the base pieces to make sure that width on the bottom is correct. So we'll clip that onto the metal C-ring at the bottom, spread that across. Then we can kind of bring these in together. Just so we get that distance right. So, now we've got that distance right. What I'm going to do is make sure that the pole parts itself are almost kind of dead square. So almost like a perfect rectangle. I ideally want to probably peg the bottom of the pole in line with the actual straight edge of the tent. That way it's sort of following the shape of the pole itself. Get some tension. Peg it out, nice and straight. You can alter kind of the angle a little bit as you need to. When you clip this canopy on, sometimes you find it's a little bit too stretched. Merely it's okay there. And again, what you've got is also little clip points here. So we can clip that, oops, lazy, clip that on to the base of the pole. So onto that little sort of C-ring as well. And we're there, and just repeg that point at the base. Many things having that sort of nice overlap. Now the sides itself, you can unclip it from this side and roll it up, and there's little toggle points located at the front of the canopy itself as well. So again, you can just kind of make it nice and versatile. You just want it like, almost like a sun canopy. You've got the ability to do that, whereas you want it to be kind of this sort of enclosed small canopy. Again, you can quite happily do that as well. And then we'll do the other side. Same kind of idea. Might tweak that back a little bit just to give it a bit more shape. Just make sure our pegging point's nice and solid at the back again. Nice guy rope. And there we go. So we've got the sort of tunnel section nicely on there again. You can still get a bit more tension if you want to make that a bit sharper. Kind of pull that down a little bit, get a bit more tension to it. These guide points here, you can always peg it forward, but always peg it out a little bit just to get a bit more angle. Immediately wind's coming directly from that side, so it's kind of pushing that in a bit. But just get a bit more. That's better. That's sharper. But yeah, that kind of gives you an idea about how you would kind of go about picking the Sunwing. Like I said, the Pro versions, the L and XL is the same for the Polycotton or the normal Pros, so it doesn't really make a difference. It's going to be kind of a Pro canopy with a Polycotton tent or vice versa. So, but like I said, simple and easy to do. Versatile, you can obviously have the sort of the sides fully up and have it just a sun canopy. Generally, it probably sits a bit nicer that way because it's just a roof you were torting, rather than about the wraparound sides. But yeah, bit extra shelter. Obviously, you can see at the front here, you've got a nice sort of decent canopy depth. So if you want a bit more area at the side of the cooking, or you roll that sort of front door back, it works quite nicely. You've just got a bit more shelter away. Still kind of the old, tinted windows, so you can get sort of great visibility out, but not necessarily in. But yeah, so smart bit of kit. Certainly something that we sort of find people really do like to add to the front of their tents. If you've got something like the TM model, whether it be the Polycotton or Pro, you haven't got the ability of a front zip. So what you can do is they do a universal canopy you can put over the top to kind of create a similar-ish kind of thing. Admittedly, it's more just a sun canopy rather than the kind of the sides like we have in here, but you've got that option. So yeah, feel free to let us know what you think. By all means, subscribe to our YouTube channel below, or check the link below in the comments box, and that'll lead you directly through to our website where we've got all the information on the pricing, sizing, and that. So that's kind of a little video review. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you again soon.